It started with a number so large that even veteran agents at ICE and HSI struggled to believe it. More than 2 million counterfeit products, from NFL and NBA jerseys to designer clothing, children's toys, and even fake USPS stamps, were seized in a single coordinated operation across ports from Long Beach to Newark. The total value, over $130 million, hidden inside containers labeled as household goods, cotton fabric, and miscellaneous textiles. What the public never saw was the footage from inside those warehouses, rows of boxes stacked to the ceiling, each one stuffed with near-perfect replicas destined for American consumers who believed they were buying the real thing. But investigators soon realized the shipments all pointed back to the same figure, a man living thousands of miles away, a supplier known only to his buyers as Fang Zhiqiang, a quiet operator from Guangzhou whom agents described as the ghost behind America's counterfeit flood. For years, he flooded the US market with fake goods so convincing that even trained retail inspectors struggled to tell the difference. His network was vast, efficient, and invisible. The question that haunted investigators was simple but unsettling. How did one man coordinate a counterfeit empire capable of infiltrating every corner of the American marketplace without ever stepping foot in the United States? To answer that, we have to go back to where it all began, inside a cramped workshop in southern China, where Fang built the illusion that would one day overwhelm America's supply chain. Before Fang Zhiqiang became the architect of one of the largest counterfeit pipelines ever uncovered by DOJ and ICE, he lived a life that looked painfully ordinary. He grew up in the crowded industrial districts of Guangzhou, surrounded by textile factories, printing shops, and workshops that supplied the world with cheap apparel. To his neighbors, Fang was nothing more than another hustler trying to build a small trading business, someone who sourced low-cost jerseys, hats, or tracksuits and shipped them to buyers overseas. He didn't drink, didn't gamble, and avoided the ostentatious lifestyle often associated with underground bosses. His greatest strength was his ability to disappear, to look harmless, to make people believe he was exactly what he pretended to be. In the early 2010s, Fang began attending the Canton Fair, mingling with legitimate exporters and foreign buyers. He spoke modest English and presented himself as a supplier of surplus OEM goods, a phrase carefully chosen to imply legitimacy without promising anything too specific. Photos online showed him in button-down shirts, shaking hands with American wholesalers, smiling shyly in front of fabric rolls and sewing machines. His WeChat storefront displayed hundreds of glowing reviews from small retailers in the United States who believed they had finally found a reliable overseas partner. He never pushed too hard. He simply delivered what people wanted: fast shipments, low prices, and quality good enough to fool even seasoned consumers. To reinforce the illusion, Fang hired a small marketing team to polish his image. They staged photos of clean workshops, neatly dressed staff, and rows of machines supposedly operating under strict quality control. In reality, many of these photos were taken in unrelated factories that rented out their floors during off hours to counterfeit producers. Fang used these images as proof that he was a legitimate manufacturer, and for a long time, no one questioned it. In a world where global supply chains stretch across continents, buyers rarely meet suppliers face to face. Trust is built on invoices, shipping labels, and catalog photos, not personal relationships. It worked. Small American retailers began ordering from Fang in bulk. They wanted NFL jerseys, NBA shorts, MLB caps, and Adidas tracksuits, all at prices they believed were wholesale deals or factory overruns. And the merchandise they received looked real enough. The stitching was clean, the colors matched the originals, the tags carried barcodes, QR codes, and holograms that mimicked official trademarks. Some of Fang's earliest customers even praised him online as a hidden gem in China's manufacturing world. But the illusion cracked the day a warehouse manager in Los Angeles scanned a shipment Fang had sent and noticed something strange. The serial numbers on dozens of NFL holograms belonged to products that the league had never officially manufactured. It was the first sign that Fang wasn't supplying surplus goods. He was supplying counterfeits engineered so convincingly that they had already spread across America's sports merchandise market without anyone noticing. What investigators eventually uncovered was not a simple case of counterfeit jerseys trickling into the country. Frank Zhuqiang had engineered an industrial-scale distribution system, one that stretched across factory floors in Guangzhou, logistics hubs in Shenzhen, bulk shipping lanes in Hong Kong, and import warehouses in California, New Jersey, and Texas. It wasn't a side hustle. It was a supply chain designed to mimic the efficiency of legitimate global commerce while hiding millions of dollars in criminal profit behind layers of shell companies and freight forwarders. At the center of the operation were the factories in Guangdong and Zhejiang, where Fang sourced the bulk of his merchandise. These were not makeshift sweatshops hidden in alleys. They were mid-sized workshops operating in plain sight, producing counterfeit NFL jerseys, NBA shorts, Adidas tracksuits, Nike hoodies, MLB hats, Disney toys, and even fake USPS stamps. Workers stitched uniforms using fabric sourced from the same mills that supplied real brands. The labels were printed using high-resolution machines meant for legitimate clothing lines. Even the packaging, plastic sleeves, barcodes, care instructions, matched the real thing. To an untrained eye, there was no difference. Once a batch was ready, Fang used a network of freight forwarders in Shenzhen and Hong Kong to disguise the shipments. Containers were declared as generic goods, cotton apparel, mixed textiles, gift items, anything vague enough to avoid scrutiny. The boxes were packed with layers of non-branded items on top, burying the counterfeit merchandise underneath. Several shipments even included falsified customs documents with fake exporter stamps or QR codes that led to empty websites. On the US side, Fang's partners created shell companies registered under innocuous names, such as Pacific Apparel Distribution, Golden Sun Imports, or East Coast Textile Group, all appearing legitimate on paper. These companies had real addresses, real bank accounts, and real Americans listed as directors, many of whom were paid small sums to lend their identities. When a container arrived at Long Beach, Savannah, or Newark, the paperwork matched a legitimate importer, so customs rarely questioned it unless an anomaly was detected. The goods were then funneled into discrete fulfillment warehouses in Los Angeles, Ontario, Houston, and Elizabeth, New Jersey. These facilities served as distribution nodes. From there, thousands of fake jerseys and counterfeit toys were sold to US retailers who believed they were buying factory surplus. Some goods went directly to flea markets. Others found their way into online stores, social media sellers, and even small sports shops that assumed they were getting bulk OEM stock. In one case cited by HSI, a family-run shop in Ohio unknowingly purchased nearly $80,000 in counterfeit merchandise from one of Fang's brokers. Their entire inventory was later seized, leaving them financially devastated. A reminder that the victims weren't only American consumers, but also small business owners who thought they were playing by the rules. Fang's operation relied on speed and volume. A single container of counterfeit sports jerseys could hold more than 25,000 units, and once broken down into smaller shipments, it became nearly impossible to track. Even when ICE seized a batch, another 2 or 3 were already en route. Fang monitored all of it from China, using encrypted apps, burner phones, ICE, and money transfer intermediaries. Payments flowed through Hong Kong, Singapore, and underground banking channels. then reappeared in China as cash deposits or digital balances with no traceable origin. What agents found most troubling was how the network continued expanding even after shipments were seized. It was as if the system operated autonomously, moving goods, forwarding payments, and recruiting new distributors without Fang ever having to touch a piece of merchandise. And that raised a new question. If Fang's fingerprints were barely visible, whose were all over the rest of the pipeline? The moment investigators realized Frank Zhuqiang, wasn't just exporting counterfeit goods, but operating a full-scale distribution empire, they shifted their focus from factories to networks. What they uncovered was a system that didn't simply survive seizures. It evolved, expanded, and multiplied across borders like a living organism. And at the center of that evolution was Fang's ability to adapt faster than US enforcement could react. By 2018, Fang had outgrown his original workshops in Guangzhou. Orders from US buyers, many of whom never knew they were dealing in counterfeits, began flooding his inbox with requests. NFL playoff jerseys, NBA City Edition uniforms, World Cup soccer kits, collectible toys, brand name backpacks, and seasonal apparel. Fang responded by outsourcing production to subcontractors in Yiwu, Wenzhou, and Shenzhen, creating a decentralized manufacturing web that ensured no single raid could cripple his supply. Each factory specialized. One produced stitching identical to Nike's, another replicated Adidas tags, and yet another focused on printing hologram stickers for the NBA, NHL, and USPs. On the distribution end, Fang expanded aggressively into the United States. He partnered with warehouse operators in Ontario, California, Elizabeth, New Jersey, and Houston, Texas, each facility functioning as a regional hub for breaking down containers into small parcels that were virtually impossible to trace. Retailers in Florida, Illinois, and Nevada soon became steady buyers of what they believed were factory overruns or closeout stock. The goods moved through flea markets, swap meets, small sports shops, and increasingly through online platforms where low prices masked the illegal origins. The empire grew even faster when Fang embraced social commerce. His team in China began supplying influencers on TikTok, Instagram, and WeChat, who live-streamed stacks of sports jerseys and branded apparel to American audiences looking for bargains. Many influencers had no idea the products were counterfeit. They only knew the demand was enormous and the margins generous. A single live stream could move 3,000 units in a night, generating tens of thousands in revenue. Meanwhile, Fang constructed a facade of success that helped him recruit more partners. He posted photos at luxury hotels in Macau, vacation villas in Hainan, and behind the wheel of a Porsche Cayenne parked outside high-end Guangzhou cafes. The image was carefully curated. He wasn't just a supplier, he was a businessman who had mastered global trade. His lifestyle convinced many small exporters and middlemen that working with him was a pathway to easy wealth. But the empire was not invisible. As shipments multiplied, so did the discrepancies. Containers routed through Long Beach showed suspiciously identical packing patterns. Goods intercepted in Savannah bore the same counterfeit holograms found months earlier in Newark. And when US Customs officers seized a batch of fake USPS Forever stamps worth millions in lost federal revenue, the packaging traced back to a Hong Kong freight forwarder tied directly to Fang. That was when federal agents began comparing manifests, tracking serial number patterns, and monitoring freight forwarders. A troubling picture began to emerge. Fang's network wasn't simply exporting counterfeits, it was overwhelming the US market at a scale that resembled a parallel supply chain running alongside legitimate commerce. Then came the turning point. Investigators monitoring a warehouse in Ontario, California, intercepted a shipment containing more than 250,000 counterfeit jerseys. all packed in boxes labeled as children's cotton pajamas. The paperwork linked the shipment to a company registered in Hong Kong, one that had transferred $1.7 million to Fang's accounts just months earlier. It was the clearest sign yet that Fang's operation had expanded far beyond the reach of traditional enforcement. What authorities didn't know, but were about to discover, was that Fang's network had already been under federal surveillance long before that container ever reached American soil. The beginning of Fang Frank Zhuqiang's downfall wasn't a dramatic raid or a high-speed chase. It was a barcode, one cheaply printed sticker on a counterfeit NFL jersey seized at a flea market in Phoenix, Arizona. A customs analyst scanned it, expecting nothing more than routine paperwork. Instead, the number returned as a perfect match to a batch of legitimate jerseys that had never left an official warehouse. The anomaly triggered a deeper review, and within days, multiple other barcodes from different seizures revealed identical cloning patterns. The fakes were too consistent, too uniform, too deliberate. For the first time, investigators realized they were looking at the output of a single coordinated source. Behind the scenes, HSI, ICE, and CBP began cross-referencing shipments intercepted in Newark, Savannah, Los Angeles, and Houston. A troubling pattern emerged. The same freight forwarders appeared repeatedly on manifests, the same Hong Kong phone numbers, the same routing through Shenzhen, Nansha, and Yantian ports. Fang's name still didn't appear on any document, but the fingerprints of his operation were suddenly everywhere. Each seizure pointed to a network that wasn't shrinking, it was accelerating. The breakthrough came from an unexpected place, a warehouse employee in Elizabeth, New Jersey, who became suspicious after unloading boxes labeled mixed toys made in China. When agents executed a search warrant, they discovered over 80,000 counterfeit Disney and Marvel products hidden inside crates. Among the seized items was a USB drive containing shipping spreadsheets, WeChat receipts, and encrypted instructions from a contact saved only as Frank GZ. For investigators, that was the first direct link tying Fang to US soil. With this new evidence, agents began building a coordinated strategy. Operation Team Player, an annual effort targeting counterfeit sports merchandise before major sporting events, shifted its focus toward shipments believed to originate from Fang's circle. Surveillance teams monitored cargo yards in Long Beach, watching containers sit for weeks before being moved in the middle of the night to small distribution hubs. Undercover agents posed as resellers, attending swap meets and flea markets to buy counterfeit jerseys directly from Fang's US-based distributors. Every purchase produced more data, bank accounts, Cash App handles, WhatsApp messages, that formed a digital trail pointing back to Guangzhou. In early 2022, investigators finally detected a fatal mistake. A shipping container misdeclared as pajamas was routed to a warehouse in Ontario, California. ICE agents tailed the truck driver, watching as he parked outside a nondescript building with blacked-out windows. Once the cargo was unloaded, agents secured a warrant and raided the facility. Inside, they found what one agent later described as a stadium's worth of counterfeit goods, over 250,000 fake jerseys, thousands of counterfeit Nike tracksuits, stacks of fake USPS Forever stamps, and pallets of counterfeit toys. This single warehouse held more than $32 million in illicit merchandise. The paperwork tied the shipment to a Hong Kong company that had wired millions of dollars to Fang's accounts. With enough evidence to act, authorities issued international warrants. Fang was detained during a layover in Singapore, where immigration authorities flagged his passport after scanning an active red notice from the United States. Within weeks, US prosecutors announced charges for trafficking counterfeit goods, money laundering, and conspiracy to defraud US consumers. But even with Fang in custody, investigators faced a disturbing truth. more than 40 million worth of counterfeit products linked to his network had never been found. Containers vanished at sea. Parcels disappeared mid-route. Shell companies dissolved overnight. It was as if the network, sensing Fang's capture, had scattered into the wind, leaving behind no trace but the counterfeit goods still circulating across America. And that unanswered question haunted every agency involved. If this was only one distributor, how big was the machine operating behind him? What investigators realized after the arrest of Frank Zhiqiang was that his capture did not end the flow of counterfeit goods into the United States. If anything, it exposed something far more unsettling: the fact that Fang was not the mastermind behind a single criminal ring, but merely a visible node in a sprawling, multi-layered ecosystem of counterfeit production and distribution that had been evolving for more than a decade. Every seizure, every warehouse raid, every container intercepted at Long Beach, Savannah, or Newark pointed to the same conclusion. Fang's network was only one strand in a web stretching from the industrial zones of Guangzhou, Yiwu, and Hangzhou to commercial storefronts and storage units across America. When analysts dug into the encrypted messages found in Fang's seized devices, they discovered references to what insiders called the Southern Supply Chain, a coalition of underground manufacturers specializing in sports apparel, electronics, toys, cosmetics, and even counterfeit government-issued goods like USPS stamps. Some names repeated across chats: factory bosses in Futian, wholesalers in Dongguan, cargo consolidators in Shenzhen, and document forgers in Hong Kong. These were independent operators who functioned like a decentralized corporation. If one workshop was shut down, production simply shifted to another city. If one freight forwarder was flagged by customs, the labels were changed, new companies were registered, and new routes opened overnight. Even more disturbing was the discovery that Fang's US downstream distributors didn't disappear after his arrest. They merely changed suppliers. Within months, HSI observed shipments with identical counterfeit characteristics: same hologram mistakes, same stitching anomalies, same barcode sequences, originating from new exporters in Wenzhou and Guangzhou. The architecture that sustained Fang's empire had survived him effortlessly, adapting the way only a deeply entrenched criminal economy could. What kept this system alive was not just supply, but demand. The US market for counterfeit goods, especially NFL jerseys, NBA fan gear, designer accessories, collectible toys, and discounted electronics, remained enormous. Consumers wanted cheap products, small retailers wanted high margins, influencers wanted fast inventory for online sales, and counterfeit suppliers were more than willing to fill the gap. The more American buyers sought bargains, the more the network grew. Financial investigators discovered another critical layer: underground banking circuits used to repatriate profits back into China. Payments moved through money couriers in Los Angeles and New York, into exchange houses in Hong Kong, and ultimately resurfaced in China as clean balances in private accounts. These banking circuits also serviced other illicit economies: tax evasion schemes, capital flight channels, and even the financing of new counterfeit factories. In many ways, counterfeit goods were simply one revenue stream feeding a much larger machine. Analysts from multiple agencies, including HSI, DOJ, and CBP, eventually reached a stark conclusion. The counterfeit pipeline was not just a criminal industry, it was a parallel economy with its own supply chains, logistics networks, financial systems, and international allies. Fang's arrest may have disrupted one channel, but the network behind him remained untouched, regenerating faster than enforcement could dismantle it. And that leads to the most troubling question of all. If tens of millions in counterfeit goods can cross American borders so easily, even after a major distributor falls, how much more is slipping through the cracks right now, hidden inside containers no one ever checks? In the end, the story of Fang Ziqiang reveals a truth far larger than one man or one counterfeit ring. His arrest wasn't the conclusion of a case, it was the beginning of a realization. The counterfeit jerseys, toys, stamps, and designer goods flooding into America were not anomalies. They were symptoms of a parallel supply chain that moves silently alongside legitimate global commerce, exploiting every weakness in the system and feeding a market eager for bargains. The most unsettling part is that Fang's fall did nothing to slow it down. The network simply shifted, adapted, and continued its flow through new exporters, new routes, and new shell companies that sprang up almost overnight. For US investigators, the seizures, worth tens of millions, were victories, but they also exposed the sheer scale of what remains unseen. If one distributor could pump this volume of counterfeit goods into the country, how many others are operating quietly in the shadows, hidden behind freight forwarders, encrypted chats, and mislabeled containers? And how many American consumers, retailers, and small businesses are unknowingly fueling that underground economy every time they choose a cheaper option? Counterfeit crime doesn't rely on violence or intimidation. It relies on invisibility, on the assumption that no one will question a label, a barcode, or a deal that seems just a little too good. But as long as that silence continues, the pipeline will stay alive. You've been watching China Classified. Until the next case, stay aware.